Your ancestors may have had something that modern humans are willing to spend their entire lives chasing. Time, not money, not status, not success, time. And the evidence suggests they may have had far more of it than we do. So what exactly did people do all day before jobs, schedules, and deadlines existed? To answer that question, you have to imagine waking up in a world that remained unchanged for tens of thousands of years. Imagine opening your eyes 30,000 years ago. There is no alarm clock, no calendar waiting for you, no meeting, no commute, no inbox filled with messages. The first thing you hear is the crackling of last night's fire. A few embers are still glowing in the darkness. Somewhere nearby, someone is already awake, not because they have to be. Because their body decided it was time. For nearly all of human history, mornings began this way. You sit up and look around. The question isn't, what time is it? The question is, what needs to be done today? And surprisingly, the answer is often, not very much. That sounds impossible to modern ears. After all, weren't ancient humans fighting for survival every moment of every day? Archaeologists once believed something similar, but evidence collected from hunter-gatherer societies around the world tells a different story. In the 1960s, researcher Richard Lee studied the Jew/Hoansi people of Botswana. What he found surprised many scholars. Adults spent only a small portion of their week acquiring food, roughly 15 to 20 hours. The rest of their time was spent doing something else. The same pattern appeared again and again, different continents, different climates, different cultures, yet remarkably similar results. For many hunter-gatherer groups, survival did not consume every waking hour, which raises a fascinating question. If people weren't constantly searching for food, what were they doing? The answer may be hidden deep inside caves. Because archaeologists discovered something that should barely exist if ancient life was nothing but struggle. Art. 30,000 years ago, someone walked into a cave carrying a flickering torch. Not to hunt, not to hide, not to survive, to paint. They spent hours covering stone walls with horses, lions, and rhinoceroses. Some images show perspective. Others suggest movement. This wasn't random doodling. It required skill, planning, patience, most importantly, time. And cave paintings are only the beginning. Ancient jewelry appears across Africa. Decorated tools appear across Europe. Musical instruments appear across Eurasia. Again and again, the evidence points to the same conclusion. Humans weren't only surviving. They were creating. As the sun rises higher, a small group may leave camp. Some head toward a river. Others follow animal tracks. But not everyone goes. That is one of the biggest misconceptions about ancient life. Hunter-gatherers did not spend every day desperately searching for food. If yesterday's hunt was successful, there may already be enough meat. If berries were gathered recently, there may already be enough plants. So many people stay behind. Some sharpen spears, some repair tools, some weave baskets, some work animal hides into clothing. There is effort, there is skill, but there is no clock measuring productivity, no manager checking progress, no deadline approaching. The goal is not efficiency, the goal is competence. Doing something well mattered, not because it generated income, because skill earned trust, and trust could mean survival. When hunting does happen, it often looks very different from what movies show. No dramatic sprint. No heroic charge. Just patience. Humans evolved with a remarkable advantage. We sweat, a lot. Most animals cool themselves less efficiently. Over long distances, that matters. Researchers believe some ancient hunters practiced persistence hunting, following an animal for hours, sometimes across open landscapes. Not faster, just longer. Eventually the animal becomes exhausted. The hunters do not. A hunt might take several hours. Then comes the journey back, the sharing, the preparation of food, and by early afternoon, much of the day's necessary work may already be finished. Which creates another question. What happens with all the remaining hours? This is where ancient life becomes difficult for modern people to imagine. People rested. They talked. They laughed. They sat together with no particular goal. Children played nearby. Stories were exchanged. Relationships were maintained. Hours could pass without anything that a modern productivity app would consider important. Yet those hours may have been some of the most valuable. In a world without banks, contracts, or police forces, relationships were everything. When food was scarce, your friends mattered. When you became sick, your community mattered. When danger appeared, your group mattered. Social bonds were not a luxury, they were infrastructure. And humans invested enormous amounts of time building them. As darkness spreads across the landscape, something fascinating begins to happen. The practical conversations fade. The stories arrive. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer groups noticed a pattern. Daytime conversations often focus on survival, food, weather, tracking animals. But nighttime conversations are different. They become stories, myths, legends, jokes, adventures, questions about the world, questions about death, questions about what lies beyond the horizon. Many researchers believe moments like these helped create human culture itself. Not during the hunt, not during work, but around the fire, when people finally had time to think beyond tomorrow. Then something changed. Around 10,000 years ago, in several regions of the world, humans began planting crops and domesticating animals. At first, it must have seemed like a brilliant idea. More food, more security, less uncertainty, and in many ways, it was. But every solution creates new problems. Farming produced more food. More food supported larger populations. Larger populations required even more food. Soon entire communities depended on fields that demanded constant attention. Planting, weeding, harvesting, storage, protection. The cycle never stopped. And archaeological evidence suggests many early farmers were shorter, less healthy, and worked harder than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. Agriculture changed humanity forever. But it may also have changed humanity's relationship with time. Today, most of us spend years chasing a future moment when we can finally slow down. A promotion, retirement, financial freedom. A day when there is finally enough time. Your ancestors lived in a world with dangers we would never accept. But they may also have possessed something we struggle to find. Long stretches of unclaimed time. Time to create. Time to talk. Time to stare into a fire and wonder. Time to tell stories. Time to simply exist. Perhaps the real lesson is not that ancient life was better. It probably wasn't. The lesson is that humans were never designed to spend every waking hour optimizing themselves. For hundreds of thousands of years, we were also artists, storytellers, friends, parents, dreamers. And maybe that part of us is still waiting beside the fire,